Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and we're going to talk about dungeon mastering, and we're going to talk about Metal Lords 2022. Spoilers for Metal Lords 2022 in this content, and we're going to talk about the fictional character Hunter Sylvester, who is a incredibly intense and adamant fan of heavy metal. Right. So in the movie Metal Lords 2022. There's a moment where Hunter Sylvester transcends as he plays heavy metal for his high school, okay, at the Battle of the Bands, right? And it's a moment that I really connected with because I feel like I've been there. Like, they showed it using art, right, in the film, and they did it in a very graceful way, and it was amazing. It was just a great film moment in the film that perfectly explains what it means to succeed at dungeon mastering and what can happen when you do that, right? And it is definitely the Jewish people have a saying, "Do and you will understand." And this is the epitome of it, right? And I just feel like I do my channel, and yesterday. So I ignore a ton of so when you do a public, when you have a public channel, right? People just come up and they'll make content out of your content. Yesterday I watched a 3-hour and 40-minute video where 3 people just went to town and tore apart one 13-minute video I did. Now I thought it was funny because they were like, "Oh, we're gonna insult you for, collective, for the 3 of us together, collective, dedicating, literally 10 hours of our lives to tear apart 13 minutes of your content." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, you guys are really clever, making a lot of jokes and making fun, but you just dumped 10 hours of your lives into my content. Where's the insult?" Okay, and people are just like, "Scott, it isn't the thing you think it is," right? And they're like, we desperately want to drag you back down to where you're just normal like us, right? And I'm like, I refuse to be there. And when you watch Metal Lords 2022, I was really encouraged because I saw this movie and I saw, like, people are like, "Hey, you know what? Pursue what you love and do it at peak, right? And if you do, you can transcend." That's what the movie was saying. So what happens in this film is there's a moment where Hunter Sylvester is playing heavy metal music for his high school. He has drugged his buddy Kevin Schleib into this, who could not drum and has spent literally 100+ hours becoming a good drummer. And Kevin Schleib, Hunter Sylvester's friend, is just jamming, right? At the Battle of the Bands and just hitting every note, right? And Emily Spector, right, has brought in a cello and is holding down the bass line. And there's this moment in the movie where Hunter Sylvester is up on stage. All of the people in front of him are literally below him, quite literally below him. He's standing on stage, right? And Emily Spector's holding down the bass line, and Kevin Schleib, who he has mountain carried this dude, put him on his back and carried him up the mountain to be a good drummer, right? And Kevin Schleib would have never touched heavy metal without Hunter Sylvester, right? So all 3 of them are just hitting their stride and they're doing their thing. They're doing the thing. And Hunter Sylvester is just ripping, just absolutely shredding on this guitar. And he's playing heavy metal and he has control of the entire audience. And then, while he's already standing above the crowd, he puts his foot on the speaker near the front, and then he transcends. He is literally physically lifted high above the crowd, 20, 30 feet. And the camera pulls out as Hunter Sylvester ascends. He actually, rises up like an angel, right? Now this is, and you're like, is he literally, did they, put a crane on him and he's being lifted up in the, in the Battle of the Bands? The Battle of the Bands can't do that. They don't have the money, right? And he's not. It's just an art, and it's just an artistic aspect of the film. And then we see, and basically, you see the crowd below him, right? You see the band behind him, 20, 30 feet below, behind him. And on his face is a small smile that just breaks out into this huge beaming smile, and he's looking straight up into the sky toward heaven, right? And he is just ultimately happy in that moment. And he has everything he's worked for, and he's like, this moment is what I did, is everything I did it for. I strive to reach this moment. And I have been here 25, maybe 50 times as a dungeon master, where you've been working for weeks or months, right, to pull this all together, and you realize everybody at the table is having a good time. You have mastered the domain of Dungeons and Dragons. You have mastered narrative, right? You have mastered 3, 5, 7 disciplines, cartography and botany and simply, all the different aspects that go into Dungeons and Dragons. And you're there and you transcend, and nobody can touch that moment, and nobody can break that moment. And these guys who, spent 10 hours tearing apart 13 minutes of not a one of them has ever been here. They've never been here. And they spend half the video saying, we all suck, and no one should follow us in anything. Okay, I guess you're scoring points on me by saying, no, Scott, a lot of DMs are really sucky people like us who really can't make a great story for anyone. And I'm like, you guys are making fun of me? Are you listening to yourselves? It was, and the only reason I bring it up is there's 50 of these on the internet now, and from multiple channels, right? Because people don't get the ascension part. They don't get, if you stay in the thing and you pursue and you tooth and claw all the way to the top, you can transcend as a dungeon master, and Dungeons and Dragons can lift you and put you in a place of joy that nothing else can do. That's my opinion. Have you been there? Have you been there? Have you been Hunter Sylvester with the crowd 40 feet below, your own band 20 or 30 feet back? Your joy is pure, and no one can touch the moment because everything you've worked for is there. I've felt this 25 to 50 times in my DM experience. I've never seen it put on film as clearly as it is in Metal Lords 2022. Have you seen this film? What do you think of this? Have you been in this transcendent moment? Have you reached it? Do you think you can get there? Are you working toward it? Do you think I'm wrong? It's impossible. You suck, and all of us should suck like you, like these other 3 people are saying, right? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.